The year was 2247, and humanity had long since abandoned physical books as relics of a bygone era. Libraries no longer housed shelves lined with dusty tomes. Instead, they were sleek, sterile facilities filled with holographic archives and neural implants capable of downloading entire libraries into one's mind. Physical texts were rare, so rare that most people had never even touched one. Yet there were still places where these artifacts survived, tucked away in forgotten corners of the world, waiting to whisper their secrets to anyone willing to listen. Naya was one such listener. She worked as a historian at the Global Heritage Archive, a sprawling facility located on the outskirts of New Dawn City. Her job was to catalog and preserve remnants of humanity's past, items deemed too fragile or insignificant to digitize. Most days, her work involved scanning ancient documents, analyzing faded photographs, and piecing together fragments of history that had been lost to time. It wasn't glamorous, but it was meaningful, a quiet rebellion against a society obsessed with progress and convenience. That morning, Naya arrived at the archive earlier than usual. She had spent weeks poring over a collection of pre-digital artifacts donated by a reclusive collector who claimed they contained untold stories. The shipment included journals, letters, maps, and other curiosities from centuries past. Most of the items had already been scanned and uploaded to the central database, but a handful remained unexamined due to their delicate condition. Among them was a weathered leather-bound book titled Reflections of Time. Its spine was cracked, its pages yellowed with age, and its cover bore the faint imprint of a name, Eleanor Voss. Curious, Naya carefully opened the book, her fingers trembling slightly as she turned the brittle pages. The text inside was handwritten, a rarity in itself, and seemed to chronicle the musings of someone living in the late 21st century. Eleanor wrote about everything from politics to philosophy, weaving together observations about human nature with reflections on technology's rapid advancement. Some entries were poetic, others pragmatic, but all carried a sense of urgency, as if Eleanor knew her words might someday matter more than she could imagine. As Nia flipped through the pages, something unusual caught her eye. Wedged between two sections near the middle of the book was a folded piece of paper, thicker and coarser than the rest. Carefully, she extracted it, marveling at how well-preserved it seemed despite its age. The edges were frayed, and the ink had faded slightly, but the handwriting was still legible. Her heart raced as she unfolded the paper. It was a letter addressed simply to whoever finds this. At first glance, the words appeared ordinary enough, a greeting followed by a brief introduction, but as she read further, her breath hitched. The tone shifted abruptly, becoming urgent and cryptic. To whoever finds this, if you are reading these words, then I have succeeded in hiding what must be protected. What follows is not fiction, nor speculation, it is truth. A truth buried beneath layers of lies designed to control, manipulate, and erase. You will not find it in any official record, nor in the digital archives that now dominate our lives, but it exists. Nia stopped reading, her pulse pounding in her ears. The air around her felt heavier, charged with significance. She glanced around the room, half expecting someone to burst in and demand answers, but the archive was silent, save for the soft hum of climate control systems maintaining the perfect temperature for preservation. Taking a deep breath, she continued reading. Humanity's origins are not what we have been led to believe. We are not native to this planet. Our ancestors were brought here millennia ago by beings far older and wiser than ourselves. They left behind clues, markers embedded in our DNA, patterns in the stars, whispers in ancient myths. But those clues have been systematically erased, rewritten, or dismissed as myth. Naya's hands trembled as she absorbed the implications. Could this be real? Was it possible that humanity's history had been deliberately altered? Or was this simply the ramblings of a conspiracy theorist clinging to outdated beliefs? The letter went on. I do not write this lightly. For years, I have searched for proof, following threads that led me to truths both terrifying and liberating. If you seek to uncover what I have discovered, look for the Vault of Echoes. It holds the evidence needed to piece together the puzzle. But beware, there are forces that would stop at nothing to keep this knowledge hidden. Trust no one. The letter ended with a single line scrawled hastily across the bottom. The truth cannot die while there are those brave enough to seek it. For a long moment, Naya sat frozen, the letter clutched tightly in her hands. Her mind raced with questions. Who was Eleanor Voss? How had she come to possess such knowledge? And what was the Vault of Echoes? More importantly, why had this information been hidden and by whom? Determined to learn more, Nia began researching Eleanor's life. Using the archive's vast database, she uncovered fragments of information scattered across historical records. Eleanor had been a scientist specializing in genetics during the late 21st century, a time when breakthroughs in biotechnology were reshaping humanity's understanding of itself. She had published numerous papers on DNA sequencing, earning acclaim within academic circles. But toward the end of her career, she had vanished without explanation, leaving behind only rumors of dissent and controversy. Nia dug deeper, cross-referencing Eleanor's work with other scientific discoveries from the same period. One name kept appearing in connection with her research: Dr. Elias Kane, a prominent astrophysicist known for his theories about extraterrestrial life. Together, they had co-authored several studies exploring the possibility of intelligent civilizations beyond Earth. Their collaboration had sparked intense debate, with critics dismissing their ideas as speculative nonsense. Eventually, the pair had gone silent, their work relegated to obscurity. As Nia pieced together the fragments, a pattern began to emerge. Eleanor and Elias hadn't abandoned their research, they had been silenced. Their findings had challenged the status quo, threatening to dismantle the carefully constructed narrative of humanity's origins. Rather than risk exposure, powerful entities had buried their work, erasing it from public consciousness. But why? What had they discovered that was so dangerous? Over the next few days, Nia became consumed by her quest for answers. She spent hours combing through the archive, searching for anything that might shed light on the vault of echoes mentioned in the letter. It wasn't easy. The term yielded no results in the digital databases, suggesting it existed outside recorded history. Frustrated but undeterred, Nia turned to unconventional methods, reaching out to contacts in underground networks dedicated to preserving forbidden knowledge. One such contact led her to Arlen, a rogue archivist rumored to possess unparalleled expertise in pre-digital history. He lived in a secluded workshop cluttered with relics salvaged from ruins and abandoned libraries. When Nia arrived, he greeted her with skepticism, his sharp eyes assessing her every move. "What do you want?" he asked gruffly, gesturing for her to sit amidst piles of dusty artifacts. "I need your help," Nia replied, pulling out the letter. "This was hidden in an old book. Do you recognize anything?" Arlen took the letter, his expression unreadable as he scanned the text. When he finished, he let out a low whistle. "Where did you find this?" "In a donation batch," Nia explained. "Do you know what it means?" Arlen hesitated, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "It means trouble. Whoever wrote this knew they were risking their life. The Vault of Echoes, if it exists, it's one of the most heavily guarded secrets in human history." "Guarded by whom?" Nia pressed. "Governments, corporations, shadow organizations, you name it. Anyone with power has a vested interest in keeping certain truths buried. If this vault contains evidence of humanity's true origins, exposing it would shake the foundations of society." Nia nodded grimly. "Then we have to find it." Arlen chuckled darkly. "You're either very brave or very foolish. Either way, count me in. Someone needs to make sure the truth doesn't disappear forever." Together, Nia and Arlen began piecing together clues embedded in the letter. They deciphered references to celestial alignments, ancient symbols, and geographic coordinates pointing to remote locations around the globe. Each discovery brought them closer to unraveling the mystery, but also deeper into danger. One evening, as they pored over a map marked with potential sites, Nia paused, overwhelmed by the weight of what they were doing. "What happens if we succeed?" she asked quietly. "If we expose the truth, will people believe us? Or will they reject it because it challenges everything they've ever known?" Arlen looked at her, his gaze steady. "That's the risk we take. Some secrets are meant to be uncovered, even if they change everything. Humanity deserves to know where it came from, and maybe, just maybe, understanding our past will help us shape a better future." By the time they identified the location of the Vault of Echoes, Nia felt a mix of excitement and dread. The journey ahead would be perilous, fraught with obstacles designed to deter anyone seeking the truth. But as she stared at the map, her resolve hardened. Whatever lay inside the vault, she knew she couldn't turn back now. And somewhere in the quiet stillness of the archive, surrounded by relics of the past, Nia began to understand that some mysteries were worth risking everything for. The days following their initial discovery were a whirlwind of activity for Nia and Arlen. Armed with the cryptic letter and a growing sense of urgency, they threw themselves into deciphering its contents. Each clue seemed to lead to another, creating a labyrinth of riddles that tested their patience and resolve. Yet, as they worked together, Nia began to feel a flicker of hope, a belief that the truth was within reach, even if it came at great personal risk. The first step was understanding the references scattered throughout the letter. Eleanor Voss had written in veiled language, using metaphors and coded phrases designed to evade detection. For instance, she mentioned patterns in the stars and markers embedded in our DNA, hinting at connections between celestial phenomena and human genetics. To Nia, these descriptions felt like pieces of a puzzle waiting to be assembled, but assembling them required expertise neither she nor Arlen fully possessed. "We need someone who understands both astrophysics and biology," Nia said one evening as they sat surrounded by maps, charts, and ancient texts. "Someone who can see how these two fields intersect." Arlen nodded thoughtfully. "There's a name I've heard whispered in certain circles, Dr. Luora Chen. She's an exobiologist turned recluse after her research was shut down under mysterious circumstances. If anyone can help us connect the dots, it's her." Nia hesitated. Reaching out to Dr. Chen meant risking exposure and potentially putting her in danger, but time was running out. Whoever had silenced Eleanor and Elias decades ago might already know about the letter. Every moment they delayed increased the likelihood of being discovered. "Let's try," Nia said finally, "but we'll have to be careful." Tracking down Dr. Chen proved more challenging than expected. Official records listed her as deceased, a convenient cover for someone seeking anonymity. However, through Arlen's underground contacts, they learned she lived in a remote compound near the Arctic Circle, far from prying eyes and technological surveillance. It took several days of travel, including a nerve-wracking hovercraft ride over icy wastelands, to reach her secluded retreat. When they arrived, Dr. Chen greeted them warily, her sharp gaze assessing every detail of their appearance. She was older than Nia had imagined, her silver hair tied back in a loose bun, her face lined with years of solitude and secrecy. Yet there was a fire in her eyes, a determination that hadn't dimmed despite the passage of time. "You're either very brave or very foolish to come here," Dr. Chen said, ushering them inside her modest home. "What do you want?" Nia handed her the letter, explaining how they had found it and what they hoped to achieve. As Dr. Chen read the text, her expression shifted from skepticism to intrigue. This is remarkable," she murmured, her voice tinged with awe. "Eleanor was right. The patterns she mentions, they align perfectly with my own findings." She led them to a room filled with holographic projections of star charts, genetic sequences, and mathematical equations. Pointing to a cluster of stars, she explained, "These constellations correspond to specific sequences in human DNA, but not random. They're markers left behind by whoever brought humanity here." Nia's breath caught in her throat. "You mean we really aren't native to Earth?" Dr. Chen nodded grimly. "No, we aren't. My research suggests that humanity was transplanted here thousands of years ago by an advanced alien civilization. Why they did it, or why they erased all evidence of it, is unclear, but the implications are staggering." Arlen leaned forward, his brow furrowed. If people knew this, it would change everything. Governments, religions, entire systems of belief, they collapse overnight. "And that's why they buried the truth," Nia added softly, "to maintain control." Dr. Chen sighed, rubbing her temples. "Yes, and they'll stop at nothing to keep it hidden. That's why I went into hiding. If you're serious about exposing this, you need to prepare yourselves. This isn't just about uncovering history. It's about challenging power." With Dr. Chen's guidance, Nia and Arlen began decoding additional clues in the letter. One phrase stood out: "Follow the echoes." At first, it seemed abstract, but Dr. Chen recognized it as a reference to acoustic resonance, an ancient method used to map underground structures. According to legend, certain frequencies could reveal hidden chambers beneath the Earth's surface. Using this insight, they identified 3 potential locations where the vault of echoes might be hidden. All were remote sites marked by unusual geological formations and aligned with the constellations mentioned in the letter. The closest site was located deep within the Sahara Desert, a region long abandoned due to environmental degradation. Preparations for the journey were intense. They equipped themselves with portable scanners, survival gear, and encrypted communication devices to avoid detection. Before leaving, Dr. Chen warned them of the dangers ahead. "Be vigilant," she said. "If others learn what you're searching for, they'll hunt you down. Trust no one, not even those who claim to share your cause." Her words lingered in Nia's mind as they boarded a transport vessel bound for North Africa. The desert stretched endlessly before them, a barren expanse of sand and rock that seemed almost otherworldly. As they ventured deeper into the wilderness, Nia couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. After days of grueling travel, they reached the coordinates indicated by the letter. The area appeared unremarkable at first glance, a flat plain dotted with jagged rocks. But when they activated their scanning equipment, something extraordinary happened. The ground emitted faint vibrations, resonating with the frequencies described in the letter. "It's here," Arlen whispered, his voice trembling with excitement. "We found it." Together, they began excavating the site, uncovering a series of stone slabs engraved with intricate symbols. Beneath the slabs lay a narrow passageway descending into darkness. Heart pounding, Naya lit a handheld lantern and stepped inside, followed closely by Arlen. The air grew cooler as they descended, the walls lined with carvings depicting scenes of celestial bodies and humanoid figures. At the end of the tunnel, they discovered a massive chamber filled with artifacts. Crystalline tablets etched with alien script, vials containing unknown substances, and holographic devices projecting images of distant galaxies. But it was the central pedestal that drew their attention. Resting atop it was a glowing orb, pulsating with energy. As Nia approached, fragments of information flooded her mind. Images of towering spacecraft, vast cities suspended among the stars, and beings whose forms defied comprehension. They weren't just visitors, she murmured, tears streaming down her face. They created us. We're part of something much bigger than we ever imagined. Arlen placed a hand on her shoulder, his expression somber. Now comes the hard part. What do we do with this knowledge? The chamber beneath the desert was unlike anything Naya or Arlen had ever seen. It wasn't just a vault. It was a repository of knowledge, a testament to humanity's origins that defied every assumption they had grown up believing. The glowing orb at its center pulsed rhythmically, as if alive, radiating waves of energy that resonated deep within them. As Nia touched it, fragments of alien memories flooded her mind, visions of beings far older and wiser than humans, who had shaped life across countless worlds. These aren't myths, Nia whispered, her voice trembling. They're real. We're not alone. Arlen stared at the artifacts surrounding them, his face pale but resolute. And we're not what we thought we were. Humanity isn't native to Earth. We were brought here, created here. Naya nodded slowly, trying to process the enormity of what they had uncovered. The symbols carved into the walls told the story of an advanced civilization, a race of beings referred to as the Eldari. According to the holographic projections, the Eldari had seeded life on Earth millennia ago, leaving behind markers encoded in human DNA and celestial alignments. These markers pointed to the existence of this very chamber, ensuring that future generations might rediscover their true heritage. But why? Why had the Eldari intervened in humanity's creation and then vanished without explanation? And why had their presence been erased from history? As they explored the chamber further, Nia found a crystalline tablet inscribed with text that seemed to answer some of these questions. Using a portable translator device provided by Dr. Chen, she deciphered fragments of the message. To those who seek the truth, know this, you are our legacy, a reflection of our light, tempered by the darkness of your own making. You were created to evolve, to rise above conflict and division. Yet we foresaw the risks. The same spark that drives progress also fuels destruction. The passage went on to explain that the Eldari had intentionally obscured their role in humanity's origins, fearing that knowledge of their intervention might destabilize society. Instead, they embedded clues throughout human culture, myths of gods descending from the heavens, stories of divine creation, and patterns hidden in nature itself. Over time, these truths faded into legend, overshadowed by humanity's relentless pursuit of technological advancement. What does this mean? Arlen asked, his voice low. That we're experiments, pawns in some cosmic game? No, Nia replied firmly. It means we're part of something greater. The Eldari gave us a chance to grow, to become more than we are now, but they left it up to us to decide our destiny. Her words hung heavy in the air, echoing off the stone walls. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The weight of the revelation pressed down on them, forcing them to confront uncomfortable truths about humanity's identity and their place in the universe. As they continued examining the artifacts, Nia noticed something else, warnings etched into the carvings alongside the hopeful messages. The Eldari hadn't abandoned humanity entirely. They had monitored its progress from afar, intervening only when necessary to prevent catastrophe. Several passages referenced events interpreted as divine intervention in human history: the Great Flood, the fall of Atlantis, even near misses with nuclear annihilation during the Cold War. Each instance was framed as a corrective measure, a way to steer humanity back toward balance. But there was a final warning, one that sent chills down Nia's spine. If you uncover this truth before you are ready, beware. Knowledge without wisdom is a weapon. Use it wisely or risk destroying yourselves. They knew, Nia said softly, her hands trembling as she traced the inscription. They knew someone would find this eventually. That's why they hid it so carefully. Arlen frowned, pacing the chamber. And now we're the ones holding the weapon. What do we do with it? Nia hesitated, staring at the glowing orb. Its light seemed to pulse in sync with her heartbeat, as if urging her to make a choice. On one hand, exposing the truth could liberate humanity, freeing it from the lies that had shaped its worldview for centuries. On the other hand, revealing such a profound secret carried immense risks. Would people accept it or reject it outright? Would governments and corporations use it to consolidate power, twisting the narrative to suit their agendas? We can't keep this hidden, Nia said finally, but we can't release it recklessly either. If we do this wrong, it could tear society apart. Arlen nodded grimly. Then we need a plan, something that ensures the truth gets out, but in a way that gives people time to process it. Over the next few hours, they debated their options, weighing the pros and cons of each approach. One idea stood out: fragmenting the information. Instead of releasing everything at once, they could share pieces gradually, allowing humanity to adapt to the new reality step by step. The glowing orb contained vast amounts of data, more than enough to stagger the revelations over years, if not decades. Using the equipment they had brought, Nea and Arlen began extracting the information stored in the orb. They copied the data onto secure drives, encrypting it with algorithms designed to resist tampering. At the same time, they documented their findings in plain language, crafting a narrative that explained the Eldori's role in humanity's origins without overwhelming readers. This won't be easy, Arlen admitted as they worked. People will question everything: their beliefs, their identities, their purpose. Some will embrace it. Others will fight it. There will be chaos. But maybe that's what we need, Nia countered. Maybe chaos is the first step toward change, if we're going to evolve, if we're going to live up to the potential the Eldari saw in us. We have to face the truth, no matter how painful it is. By the time they finished, dawn was breaking outside the chamber. Exhausted but determined, Nia and Arlen packed up their gear and prepared to leave. Before departing, Nia took one last look at the glowing orb, its light dimmer now that much of its data had been transferred. "Thank you," she whispered, unsure whether she was addressing the Eldari, the artifact, or herself. Their journey back to civilization was fraught with tension. Every shadow seemed ominous, every sound suspicious. Nia couldn't shake the feeling that they were being followed, though no one appeared to trail them. When they finally reached the transport vessel, they wasted no time taking off, eager to put distance between themselves and the desert. Once airborne, Arlen turned to Nia, his expression serious. "We're not done yet. This is just the beginning." She nodded, clutching the encrypted drives tightly. "I know, but at least we've taken the first step. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together." As the ship soared higher, leaving the barren landscape behind, Nia gazed out the window at the horizon bathed in golden sunlight. For the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope, not because the road ahead would be easy, but because humanity finally had a chance to rewrite its story. And somewhere in the quiet stillness of the cabin, surrounded by fragments of a truth too vast to comprehend, Nia began to understand that some secrets were meant to challenge us, to push us toward becoming better versions of ourselves. The days following their discovery in the desert were a blur of activity for Nia and Arlen. They knew they were sitting on a bombshell, a revelation so profound it could rewrite history and reshape humanity's understanding of itself. But they also knew that exposing the truth wouldn't come without resistance. The same entities that had buried Eleanor Voss's research centuries ago would stop at nothing to ensure the secret remained buried, and anyone threatening to uncover it would be silenced. Their first sign of trouble came shortly after landing in New Dawn City. As they disembarked from the transport vessel, two black hovercars pulled up alongside them, blocking their path. Out stepped men in sleek suits, their faces devoid of emotion but their eyes sharp and calculating. One of them approached Nia and Arlen, holding out an identification badge marked with the insignia of the Global Oversight Bureau, GOB, a shadowy organization tasked with maintaining societal stability through censorship and control. "Dr. Nia Kell?" the man asked, his tone polite yet firm. "We'd like to speak with you about recent activities in the Sahara region." Nia's heart raced, but she forced herself to remain calm. "I'm sorry, I don't know what you're referring to." The man smiled faintly, though there was no warmth in it. "Let's not play games. We're aware of your expedition and what you may have uncovered. It's in everyone's best interest if you hand over any materials related to your findings." Arlen stepped forward, positioning himself between Nia and the agents. "What we found belongs to humanity. It's not yours to take or hide." The agent's smile vanished, replaced by a cold glare. "This isn't a negotiation. Hand over the data or face the consequences." For a moment, the air seemed to freeze. Nia tightened her grip on the encrypted drives tucked safely in her bag, her mind racing. They couldn't let these men confiscate the evidence, not when they had worked so hard to retrieve it. Summoning every ounce of courage, she met the agent's gaze steadily. "You'll have to arrest us first," she said, her voice unwavering, "because we're not giving this up." The standoff lasted only seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Finally, the agent gestured to his team, signaling them to retreat. "This isn't over," he warned before turning away. The hover cars sped off into the distance, leaving Nia and Arlen shaken but resolute. Back at Arlen's workshop, they fortified their defenses, knowing the Gov would return. And next time, they might not be so diplomatic. Using scavenged tech and ingenuity, Arlen rigged security systems to detect intruders and deployed decoy signals to mislead tracking devices. Meanwhile, Nia reached out to trusted allies within underground networks, seeking support in case things escalated. "We can't fight them directly," Nia admitted as they prepared for the worst. "They're too powerful." "No," Arlen agreed, "but we can outsmart them. If we release the information strategically, they won't be able to suppress it all." Together, they devised a plan. Instead of releasing the full dataset at once, they would leak fragments of the truth through decentralized channels, encrypted forums, anonymous broadcasts, peer-to-peer networks designed to resist censorship. Each piece of information would spark curiosity, encouraging others to dig deeper while spreading the burden of exposure across countless individuals. By the time authorities realized what was happening, it would be too late to contain. But executing the plan required precision and timing. They spent hours encrypting files, embedding them with fail-safe mechanisms to prevent tampering. Then, under cover of darkness, they uploaded the first batch of data to a secure server accessible only to select contacts. Within hours, whispers of humanity's extraterrestrial origins began circulating online. At first, skepticism reigned supreme. Many dismissed the claims as conspiracy theories or elaborate hoaxes. But as more fragments surfaced, backed by irrefutable evidence such as DNA sequences matching celestial patterns, the tide began to shift. Scientists, historians, and curious citizens alike started connecting the dots, piecing together a narrative that challenged everything they thought they knew. The Gov didn't wait long to respond. News outlets loyal to the organization denounced the leaks as misinformation campaigns orchestrated by rogue actors intent on destabilizing society. Simultaneously, digital firewalls went up around major platforms, attempting to block further dissemination of the data. Yet, the decentralized nature of the network made censorship nearly impossible. For every file deleted, another appeared elsewhere, spreading faster than ever before. Despite their efforts to stay hidden, Nia and Arlen soon became targets. Their workshop was raided one night by armed operatives, forcing them to flee into the city's labyrinthine underbelly. Cut off from resources and constantly looking over their shoulders, they relied on the kindness of strangers to survive. Among their allies was Dr. Leora Chen, who risked her own safety to provide shelter and guidance. "You've lit a fire," Dr. Chen told them during a clandestine meeting. "Now you need to decide how far it burns. Exposing the truth is dangerous, but suppressing it is deadly. Humanity deserves to know where it comes from, even if it changes everything." Her words reinforced Nia's resolve. Though the journey had been perilous, she believed they were doing the right thing. That Eldari had entrusted humanity with the potential for greatness. It was their responsibility to rise to the occasion. As public awareness grew, so did unrest. Protests erupted worldwide, with crowds demanding answers from governments and corporations complicit in hiding the truth. Faith leaders grappled with theological implications, while philosophers debated humanity's place in the cosmos. Some embraced the revelations with hope, seeing them as proof of a shared destiny among the stars. Others reacted with fear, clinging to old beliefs and rejecting the new paradigm. Amidst the chaos, Nia and Arlen continued their mission, releasing additional files that painted a fuller picture of humanity's origins. Each upload brought them closer to their goal, but also closer to capture. One evening, as they prepared to disseminate the final fragment, they received a chilling message. "You've gone too far. Stop now or pay the price." It was unsigned, but the implication was clear: surrender or face dire consequences. Nia stared at the screen, her hands trembling slightly. "We can't stop," she whispered. "If we do, everything we fought for will be lost." Arlen placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Then we finish what we started, together." With that, they initiated the final upload, a comprehensive archive containing everything they had uncovered, along with a personal message from Nia. "To whoever reads this, the truth isn't always easy to accept, but it's necessary. Humanity wasn't born on Earth, but we were given a chance to grow here, to evolve into something greater. The choice is ours now, to embrace our origins and strive for unity, or to remain divided by ignorance and fear." As the file transmitted, alarms blared outside. Hover cars descended rapidly, surrounding their location. Agents stormed the building, weapons drawn. Nia and Arlen exchanged a glance, their expressions grim but unyielding. "They'll never silence us," Nia said firmly. "Not completely." And with that, They stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. The moments following the raid were a blur of chaos and determination. Naya and Arlen stood side by side as agents of the Global Oversight Bureau, GOB, closed in, their weapons trained on the pair. Despite the overwhelming odds, neither flinched. They had known this day might come, the moment when they would have to choose between surrendering the truth or risking everything to ensure it reached the world. "Drop your devices," one agent barked, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Naya hesitated for only a second before complying, setting down her encrypted drive. But she locked eyes with the lead agent, her gaze unwavering. "You can take us," she said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "But you can't erase what we've done. The truth is already out there." The agent's jaw tightened, betraying a flicker of uncertainty. He motioned for his team to confiscate the equipment, but even as they worked, alerts flashed across their wrist consoles, notifications of the final upload spreading across global networks. Naya allowed herself a small, defiant smile. No matter what happened now, the seeds of revelation had been sown. In the days that followed, Naya and Arlen became symbols of resistance, a testament to the power of individuals standing against oppressive systems. Though they were detained and interrogated relentlessly, their resolve never wavered. Public outrage grew louder with each passing hour, fueled by the mounting evidence of humanity's extraterrestrial origins. Protesters gathered outside GILB headquarters, demanding transparency and accountability. Scientists and scholars joined the movement, analyzing the data and confirming its authenticity. Even skeptics began to concede that the revelations warranted serious consideration. For the first time in centuries, humanity was forced to confront uncomfortable truths about its past and imagine new possibilities for its future. The Eldari's legacy wasn't just a historical footnote. It was an invitation to evolve, to transcend conflict and division, and to embrace unity. Weeks later, Nia found herself standing before a crowd gathered in New Dawn City's Central Plaza. It was a rare public appearance, made possible only after intense negotiations with authorities eager to contain the fallout. Flanked by supporters, including Dr. Leora Chen and other key figures in the movement, she addressed the masses, her voice amplified by speakers yet carrying the weight of quiet conviction. "We are more than we believed," she began, her words resonating deeply with those assembled. "We are not bound by borders, beliefs, or biases. We are part of something vast and ancient, a cosmic tapestry woven from stars and stories. The Eldari gave us life, but they also gave us choice. It is up to us to decide how we honor their gift." Her speech struck a chord, igniting conversations that rippled across the globe. People began rethinking their identities, not as citizens of nations or followers of ideologies, but as participants in a shared journey toward understanding and growth. Religious leaders incorporated the revelations into sermons, reframing creation myths to align with the newfound knowledge. Educators revised curricula to include lessons on humanity's interstellar heritage. Artists and writers drew inspiration from the truth, creating works that celebrated connection over separation. Yet not everyone welcomed the changes. Resistance persisted, fueled by fear and denial. Some governments attempted to suppress the information, while others used it to justify authoritarian measures under the guise of maintaining order. Corporations exploited the narrative for profit, selling products marketed as Eldari-inspired or promising access to cosmic enlightenment. The road ahead remained fraught with challenges, but Naya knew progress couldn't happen without struggle.